This is an issue that a lot of people at UCL find challenging, and when I've been working with people on their departmental learning and teaching strategies, they've written things like, well, the students may have an opportunity to do some work abroad, and obviously that's a very, very good way of students becoming aware of different cultures. But I thought that I'd just really drill down into the actual curriculum today and think a little bit about what we might adopt as a perspective on that, because that's the thing that people find most difficult. And I think that the trick is to get internationalisation learning outcomes into the curriculum. And I'm going to give you some examples of those in a second. And then think about learning activities which would help the students to achieve those outcomes, and think of ways of assessing them. So those 3 steps: that you have a learning outcome, think of the activity, and you think of assessment. And in your strategy, you could, therefore, if you manage to think of a few ways of doing this, we'll introduce learning outcomes which internationalise the curriculum. Quick example, and these examples come from the long list of suggestions of approaches in the Departmental Learning, Teaching and Strategy template. And one of these is sensitivity to cultural difference. But I think that you could easily, and really no matter what your subject, have a learning outcome which included describing how people from several cultures would respond to something to do with your subject. In medical sciences, we know that people respond differently to different types of illness. And the learning activity would perhaps be a discussion, or a discussion of materials on the web or literature, and the assessment would be to present those findings. And then you would be highlighting perhaps ways of overcoming difference, ways of being sensitive to it, but also ways of learning from it and using it. Another example, we are to equip students for employment in a range of countries. And how do you do that? Well, obviously you can't really be equipped for being employed in a range of countries without going to that range of countries ultimately, but you could be prepared by contrasting the work and the working environment of people across the globe. And Mark's been thinking a lot about the tools we have nowadays for building social communities online, which we can do across continents, and I think that's a very good strategy to have, because it's very, very enriching for all involved. And again, the assessment activity could present your findings, highlighting the work and perhaps approaches that you think are interesting. So these are just 2 very concrete examples of things that could be done.